Hey, what's up, boxing fans? Welcome to episode 340 of the Neutral Corner Boxing Podcast. I am your host, Michael Montero, as always. And I remind you, as I always do, to make sure you subscribe, click that notification bell, and leave us ratings, reviews, all that good stuff. If you can't catch the live video, it's all good. You can listen to the podcast anywhere podcasts are heard. Just look for Montero on Boxing, the Neutral Corner. You'll find me. Make sure that you're subscribed, and always pay the fee. Now, what is the fee? It's not monetary. All we ask is that you guys spread the word about the show. Just tell people out there about the show. That's it. Share it on your social media. Tell your friends. We ask you to do that every single week. All right. That's how we build this thing up. We build it with organic word of mouth type of chatter among real boxing fans. That's what we do here. And it's a global thing. So we might be joined by a couple guests here. I'm not sure. I got things set up today late, last minute. I'm running around like crazy. I'm just been working really hard the last few days. I've been insanely busy, barely had any sleep. But local promoter Terri Moss, who I've had in the show a few times, her and a new promoter in town, Gabriel Bell, they're teaming up to do a club show here in town this Friday. They might jump on at some point just to talk about that. Friend to the show, undefeated Belarusian heavyweight Sergey Novakow is headlining that show. He's been here on my channel before. He's headlining the show Friday. So any of my friends out there in the Atlanta area, if you want to check it out, let me know. I'll give you some more info, okay? I love club shows. Terri always puts on a great show, and I'm excited to meet Gabriel Bell, who's the new promoter here in town, and see what he's got. It's called Atlanta Premier Boxing. It's at Center Stage, downtown Atlanta. Doors open at 6 p.m., and the first bout is at 7 p.m. Actually, it looks like they just jumped on, guys. Let me pull them on real quick, and we'll talk about this show, and then we'll get on with the review preview and talk about what we got coming up this weekend around the world. All right, let's bring them on. Terri Moss, Gabriel.
How you doing? Hello, Montero.
So nice to have you guys on. Thank you for joining last minute. I'm sorry, I just got you guys the info. I'm like running around like crazy.
That's all right. I feel like I just saw you, Mike.
I know. Yeah. Just saw you, not even 48 hours ago,
Right.
24 hours ago. Let's talk about this show Friday. Atlanta Premier Boxing at Center Stage, downtown Atlanta. Doors open at 6 p.m. and the first fight's at 7 p.m. Tell us about the show. And then Gabriel, you're new to the boxing promotion scene here. Tell us about your background and what made you want to get into the boxing business.
I have very limited background in boxing, but I used to love watching boxing as a kid, fell in love with the sport many moons ago. So I've always loved boxing. Recently got in the gym, started training, and went to a couple of shows and had a great experience and fell in love with it.
That's awesome, man. So you got bit by the bug is what you're saying.
I got bit by the bug. It still got a hold of me too. I love everything about boxing. Doing promoting is a little bit different than just watching it on the TV screen, but I still love it. It's a great experience.
Yeah, let me tell you, brother, once you get bit by that bug, it is for life. And you're part of this great big dysfunctional family now. It's like you think of like Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner where everyone's sitting around arguing and yelling, but then you give each other a big hug at the end and you love each other. It's all good. That's the family you just joined, brother. So get ready.
Go ahead.
It's fight week. So how are you feeling? Because Terry's used to doing 1,000 different things. She's like the Renaissance woman of boxing. I don't know how you do it, Terri. You have endless energy. But Gabriel, how is this experience for you being new to this whole thing?
It's been an emotional roller coaster ride. You know, you have highs and lows, several of them during the day, throughout the day. You have problems that happen, and you just solve the problems as they come. But I definitely feel like I'm alive. It's been one emotional roller coaster every day up until, even Friday. I've still got a couple of more days left, so I'm hanging in there and trying not to look down.
Yeah. Have you guys had any dropouts, or has it been pretty good with the fights?
Of course, always.
Oh shit!
Few dropouts. I mean, we have a pretty solid start card. So one that we started with, and we still have that same card, just some late add-ons that actually didn't make it in there. So I think we're gonna be all right. We still have a really good fight card lineup.
You guys have some great local talent with some local prospects. Sergey Novikov, is he still headlining the heavyweight from Belarus?
No, we have Michael Harris headlining because he's local, but they are coming back. Yeah, so we're real excited.
Okay.
We're talking to their managers. We're trying to get their flight itinerary straight. So, but they're excited to come back. They seem to have made a home in Atlanta, so we're glad to have them back.
Yeah, I feel like he's fought here a few times. I've had him on the show. Yeah. I'm just thinking, like I have a 6-week-old daughter and I've been complaining about not getting any sleep. I might get more sleep this week than both of you combined. That's just how it goes during fight week. Well, so you guys are doing a stream, right? Can you give us some more info on that where fans can watch?
Yeah, bxng.tv. We used those guys before for the what was it? The Summertime Brawl.
Underground Showdown? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not Underground Showdown. Yeah, so too many shows, Mike. Too many shows. For the Summertime Brawl, we broadcasted with them. So they're a really nice up and coming, they're pretty established actually, boxing platform. So we're excited to have them. They come in, do the broadcast and put it on their live, and then it's going to be on demand on their platform later.
What's the link again? Could you repeat it?
Yeah, it's bxng.tv.
bxng. Okay.
Yeah.
And is there like a charge, like a pay-per-view charge, or is it?
Oh, I should know that, but I don't. So I know that we, Greg Cohen works with these guys a lot, and so he, brought him into the picture for this one. I think he might have, between him and another guy that was working on the Summertime Brawl, they got him involved on that show too. So I'm excited to work with them again. They're real professional. They get it done, and you won't even notice they're there.
Awesome. And it's JB Promotions, right? J.BE Promotions, correct?
That's correct. J.BE Promotions.
Okay. And so what's the plan here, Gabriel? Like, do you want to do shows once a year, every quarter? Like, do you have any idea how you want to do this?
So what I'd like to do, what I've got envisioned in my mind, is to throw a venue every 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
And the whole concept behind JB Promotions and Atlanta Premier Boxing is to give the local boxers, not just local boxers, just the people that aren't as much on the boxing scene as they should be, that have talent, a venue and a good venue to have a great fight at, and hopefully they can propel their career from there. But that's our goal, is to just be able to have a platform for young boxers with talent all across the nation to come out, showcase their talent, and hopefully catapult them to the next level.
That sounds great, man. Yeah. I tell everybody, Terri knows me. We've known each other for a while, but I moved here from LA, which is kind of the mecca of boxing right now in North America. It's where all the gyms are. A lot of promotional companies are out there. And then Vegas is right down the road, basically. But, coming out here to Atlanta, I feel like it's such an untapped resource. I mean, they've had Olympics here, Super Bowls, and I don't understand why more promotions don't come here. I tell everybody all the time, you need to get your ass to Atlanta.
Right.
There's a lot of wealth here. There's a lot of money. It's a big sports market. And a lot of shows that have come here from all over, different promotions have done really, really well. Yeah. But it's the club shows. That's the lifeblood, right?
Right.
That's the lifeblood of the sport. So I love this whole idea, what you guys are doing Friday. I love a Friday show. I feel like everybody tries to jam them on Saturday. Right? Get the weekend started, man.
Right.
Do it on Friday.
I agree.
So if I'm awake, if my wife lets me, I will be there.
That's right.
I'll be there hanging out with you guys. So
we're looking forward to seeing you, Michael. Come on out and have a great time with us.
Awesome. And I will get the I'll make sure I tweet everything out, all the links and stuff on all my social. And we'll have to have you back on, Gabriel. Terri, we know we'll have you on very, very soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thanks for having us.
All right, have a good day. Try to get some rest, and I'll see you Friday.
We'll see you Friday.
All right, ciao. All right, there they go. All right, guys. Once again, it's Atlanta Premier Boxing Center Stage. It's an awesome venue, downtown Atlanta. Actually, there was a corporate fight night show, the show that I fought on last year. They had this year's show at Center Stage, and I just saw that venue for the first time a couple months ago. I think it was September. Yeah, September. It's all blurring together right now. Awesome venue. Really, really cool venue. So any of you guys around the Atlanta area that are curious, definitely hit me up. And then for those of you listening, because I know a lot of my Atlanta people listen to the podcast, you guys don't always catch the video. That's actually where 90% of my audience is on the podcast, probably 95%, honestly. So when you guys listen to the audio pod later on, just DM me, message me, text me, whatever. I'll get you more info on the show. All right. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything in the comments section. Oh, my boy Michael Mendiola says, have a great show, Mike. Just landed at LAX after 2 weeks. Due settimane in Italia. Long flight and a long day so far. Yeah, man, that jet lag is going to be bad. So glad that you got to spend 2 weeks over there in the motherland, brother. Some of those photos you sent, amazing. I hope we see some more and we hear all about your travels over there. And your daughter's doing great with the dialect, bro. Really, really great. Pat the Wild Goose says, was in Naples a few months ago. Michael Mendiola, amazing place. Napoli. That's actually where a good chunk of my father's family is from. We always thought they were from Sicily. And I know like he has distant relatives from Sicily, but the majority of his family is from Naples. We found out recently as we kind of did some more digging. So I have direct lineage to Naples. Pretty awesome. Okay, let's move forward, shall we? Let's get into this review. Much to discuss. All right. And for some of you guys, we got some of you on the line here. Just sit tight because I got a lot to get through. And then we'll get some calls. Guys, I'll stay on as long as I can today. I don't know if I'll go as long as I normally do today because just things are just crazy with the baby right now. So me and my wife are really going through it, hitting that 6-week-old growth spurt. And there's just not a lot of sleeping happening right now. Anyway, all right, review time. Last Friday, we had Brandon Glanton on the show last weekend, right? Or last weekend, Jesus. Sorry, guys, I'm all over the place. Last week on the show, we had Brandon Glanton on. Undefeated at the time, American cruiserweight contender. Went up against another undefeated cruiserweight, David Light. Ends up losing a split decision in a 10-rounder. Light was dropped in the 10th round, although it looked like a slip. I think the referee screwed that up, so I'm not even going to count that. But this decision was controversial. This was the main event of a Pro Box card down in Florida. And the judges had it really tight, 95-94, one way each. But then Thomas Nardone, an American judge, scored it 97-92 for David Light, which is just not the fight that took place. So I have no idea what that judge was seeing, but most people, I'd say 2/3 of the people I have spoken with, because I tweeted about this fight, and then Pro Box did a poll. They were asking everybody what they thought. And it seems to me about 70% or so out there think that Brandon Glanton won that fight. So my hope is that they run it back. I hope they can run that fight back because it was super duper close. And I want to see what Glanton could do in a rematch if he could make some adjustments and fight a little better because it was a very, very tight fight. All right, so that's what took place Friday. Now, Saturday, 2 major cards of note. Let's jump over to England first. And interesting card. I'm going to try not to be too critical here, okay? But last Saturday, December 3rd, Top Rank at Queensberry did a show in London, of course. And this was on ESPN Plus here in the States. I'll get to the main event in a second. But let's talk about this co-main between Daniel Dubois and Kevin Lerena, a South African fighter who really spent the bulk of his career at cruiserweight and then, I guess, started bodybuilding. And then now he's a heavyweight because he looked thick, right? He looked like a bodybuilder in the ring. That's what I saw. And he was explosive with his hands, but his feet didn't necessarily move very quickly. And he didn't really have a lot of stamina. It was a bizarre kind of fight. So in the first round, Lerena lands an overhand. He's a southpaw. So he landed a glancing overhand left that seemed to land on the top of Dubois' head. You could immediately tell Dubois' equilibrium was gone, and he went down from that punch. Now, that was a legit knockdown. He wasn't so much hurt as he was discombobulated from where that punch landed. That punch should have never landed because Lerena telegraphed it. He does throw pretty fast. He's explosive, but you could tell that's what he was throwing, right? And a shorter guy looping a big shot like that just should have never landed. Dubois should have been able to get around that or just stick his hand out and catch it. He could have put his, it would have been his rear hand, but he could have got his hand up at a 45-degree angle and just caught it on the head. But he didn't. Punch lands on the top of the head, goes down. Now, he was dropped technically 2 more times in the first round, but no punches landed. Those other 2 knockdowns were Dubois essentially taking a knee, where his equilibrium was not back yet. And in his mind, he thought, let me take a knee so I don't get hit with something real big on the chin, because that's what knocks you out, right? A punch on the side of the head, the top of the head, it won't knock you out, but it will get your equilibrium all over the place, scramble your circuits, and then you can get knocked out after that. And Dubois, there was a little bit of panic in him and his body language. It didn't look good, but in the end, it was a smart decision what he did. The commentary from Joe Tessitore and Andre Ward, they seemed to miss that those other 2 knockdowns did not come from punches and they were completely voluntary. I don't know how they missed that because, I don't have the best vision in the world, but I could see pretty clearly Dubois took a knee. Anyway, so the second round, Lerena has the opportunity of a lifetime. You clearly have a guy that's hurt. And instead of going after him and completely emptying his tank, he just stays on the back foot and just wings telegraphed looping left hands. It was really bizarre. And I don't know if his corner told him, hey, don't shoot your wad. We're in this for the long haul, blah, 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 blah. If that's I don't really know. I don't, because the production wasn't very good on that fight for ESPN. They got it together for the main event. By the way, I have to mention this, not to beat up on this platform, but they wanted to interview Tyson Fury, and they had Mark Kriegel in the locker room. After that amazing first round, where you almost had one of the biggest upsets of the year take place, did they go to David Light's corner or Daniel Dubois' corner? No. They go to Tyson Fury and Mark Kriegel in the locker room. Just who made that decision? But somebody screwed up because they played the audio from Dubois' corner while showing the video of Mark Kriegel with Tyson Fury. It was just so grossly mishandled. Oh my God, the production of some of these things. You guys got to get it together. Yeah, Tyson Fury, I get it, heavyweight champ. He can wait another round or record that segment and play it later for filler. But Jesus Christ, guys, it was the most dramatic moment of the entire fight card, and you screwed it up. Have to bring that up. Okay. Second round. Lerena has the chance of a lifetime. Does he jump on Dubois? Does he empty the tank? Does he go for broke? No. He lays back, and what happens? Dubois gets his bearings, and then the difference in skill level between these two is pretty apparent, right? Right away, and it's in size too. Dubois, much, much bigger, naturally guy. Lerena had a big moment. Dubois was frozen stiff in that first round, but he started to get it together in the second round. And then in the third, he lands a beautiful, beautiful straight 1-2 right down the middle that Lerena walked right into, put him down on his ass, landed on the chin, not the top of the head. And Lerena was pretty much done after that. He got up and kept fighting, but Dubois teed off, got Lerena on the ropes, landed a monster uppercut that sent Lerena like sitting down on the ropes at the very end of the third round. And the referee called it. At first, I didn't love the stoppage because it was the very end of the round. The referee should have some awareness about the timing of these things, but the writing was on the wall. Lerena would have been knocked out, concussed badly in the fourth round. It was over. For the life of me, I can't understand why he didn't go for broke in the second round. If his corner actually told him, dude, just take your time and box, that is the worst corner advice you can give to a B-side fighter brought in as a showcase for the quote-unquote next big thing. Like, what do you guys think you're doing there? You got to go for it when you have the opportunity. Now, maybe his corner did tell him that, and he just didn't have the intestinal fortitude, or I don't know. I really don't know. But whatever happened there, talk about a blown opportunity. And David Lorena, that's going to be a long flight back home to South Africa because, boy, you had the chance of a lifetime and you screwed that up, man. For Dubois, I've always been high on him and his potential. He checks a lot of boxes, straight out of Central Casting for a 21st century heavyweight, and seems to have every single thing, but there just seems to be something missing. That X factor, the mentality, maybe it's chin. I don't know. But guys, he wasn't dropped by Joyce, and Joyce landed some bombs on dude. So I can't sit there and think, oh my God, this guy has a glass chin, because that's what everyone started saying on Twitter. A guy gets knocked out. Oh my God, he has a glass chin. Have you ever gotten hit with a baseball bat in the top of your head? You'll probably go down too. That's basically what happened to him. Let's give Dubois a little bit of credit. He got up. He did the smart thing and took a knee. He got up, fought on, and got the stoppage. So let's give him that much. However, this wasn't a good look. I've been high on Dubois for a long time, but I can't be as high on him now after this performance, okay? So his stock dropped with this win. It absolutely dropped. I'm not ready to give up on him just quite yet, though. I definitely think there's still a lot of potential there. Guys, it's heavyweights. Heavyweights are just different, but there definitely seems to be something just quite not right. Maybe they can iron it out. Maybe not. We'll find out. All right, main event, Tyson Fury, TKO 10 win over Derek Chisora. What did we tell you guys here Friday on my Friday show? Tyson Fury is going to carry Derek Chisora past the over, and then either the refs, I said the corner would stop it, but it ends up the referee stops it. And that's exactly what happened. We told you guys to bet the over. We told you. Hopefully you did, for those of you who bet, because it was a pretty smart bet. That was the only bet to make with this fight. Okay, so this fight was pretty pointless, other than getting Tyson Fury some rounds, getting him paid, getting Derek Chisora paid. They accomplished all those things, and Alexander Usyk was there. So was Joe Joyce. There was some other fighters there too. But after the fight, Fury calls Usyk out to the ring. He's standing in the ropes. Usyk gets just outside the ropes. They stare each other down. Tyson Fury says a bunch of stuff to Usyk, and Usyk just kind of stares back and walks away. Joyce was there too, and he kind of fed into Fury's thing and yelled back at him, and it was a fun WWE style promotion. So this was a commercial for 2 fights that Tyson Fury wants to do next year. He also mentioned fighting Deontay Wilder for a 4th time, and that could happen. More on that in a second. It really could happen. But okay. As it stands right now, Tyson Fury's legacy is solely built upon his wins over Deontay Wilder. Is Deontay Wilder better than Ernie Shavers for you heavyweight historians? Ernie Shavers was seen as the biggest puncher in heavyweight history until very recently. Larry Holmes beat Ernie Shavers twice. Is Larry Holmes' legacy built on beating Ernie Shavers? Ali beat Shavers, I do believe, if memory serves me correctly. Is Ali's legacy built on that? No. Why do I bring this up? Tyson Fury needs more. These recent wins over Dillian White and Derek Chisora, while they were good wins, dominant, and Dillian White was a top 10 rated heavyweight at the time, they're not all-time great Hall of Fame type of legacy building fights. The Alexander Usyk fight, although Fury will have an enormous size advantage, seeing the two of them next to each other's, Tyson Fury's head, his head was twice as big as Usyk's. It was jarring to see. His coconut twice as big as Usyk's. It's just a massive, massive size advantage. So if Fury loses a single round to Alexander Usyk, it will be a moral loss. Seriously, he shouldn't lose a round to the guy when they do fight. I have my opinions on how that fight's going to go. I'm going to hold out on that for now. I do think it happens next year. Fury needs that fight. And even though he's going to be beating up on a much smaller guy and all that good stuff, if he fights Usyk and wins, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And even though Klitschko and Lewis before him were much more dominant in their era, Klitschko owned the division for a decade. Lewis cleaned it out, fought all the top guys except the ones who ducked him, like Riddick Bowe. Those guys, and then before him, it was Holyfield and on and on and on I could go. Fury really doesn't have that kind of legacy, but he'll have something none of those guys had. He'll be the first undisputed heavyweight champion in the so-called 4-belt era. He'll have that. He'll also have a win over Usyk, who's an Olympic gold medalist, and the former undisputed cruiserweight champion. So he'll have a lot of credentials at that point on paper that he can take with him in his legacy, right? Now, he said he wants to fight 3 times next year. Do I believe him? Absolutely freaking not. I don't think that's going to happen. But if we take him at his word, okay, which I know is insane, but just hear me out. If Fury really does fight 3 times next year, and he fights Usyk and beats him, he fights Joe Joyce, who he called out, and beats him. I think Joe Joyce is the 3rd best heavyweight in the world right now. I rate him over Wilder. I rate him over Joshua. I do. Does he have the resume of Anthony Joshua? No. But I rate him above those guys because I just think he'd beat them right now. I just do. Okay. In terms of accomplishments, yeah, maybe you don't rate him that high yet. But in terms of where I rate them head to head, I put Joyce at number 3 at heavyweight right now. So if Fury beats Usyk and Joyce, and then the WBC, they're in business with premier boxing champions, right? And there's been money changing hands. They're going to mandate the fight between Andy Ruiz, Deontay Wilder, which will happen next spring on pay-per-view, Fox pay-per-view, or Showtime pay, one of them. Probably Fox pay-per-view. Anyway, they're going to mandate that as the WBC interim heavyweight title. And they're going to mandate that the Fury-Usyk winner has to face the Wilder-Ruiz winner. The WBC would love to get that title in the hands of Andy Ruiz for certain political reasons. But consolation prize, if it goes to Deontay Wilder, who they do a ton of business with, right? They've protected him for years. If it gets back in his hands, they'd love to see a 4th fight between Fury and Wilder. If Fury beats Usyk, Joyce, and Wilder for a 4th time, all next year, 2023, he's a lock for 2023 Fighter of the Year. He's the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And at that point, he's beat the top up-and-coming guy at this point in time, the top undefeated contender in Joe Joyce. And Usyk, I should mention, but Usyk's not a contender, he's a champion. He can walk away. At that point, he can walk away. He ain't got to fight again. But as it stands right now, Tyson Fury is going to make the Hall of Fame if he retired tomorrow. But his legacy against even Klitschko, either Klitschko, and guys like, Lewis and just recent, like 21st century heavyweights, it just doesn't stack up. It just doesn't. He gets those accomplishments I mentioned next year, different conversation, at least on paper. Okay, that's all I got to say about that. Moving to America, Glendale, Arizona. Matchroom Boxing put out a card on DAZN, and this was a fun card. It was loaded, great fan atmosphere. I'll get to the main event in a second. Let's talk about some undercard action. The performance of the night, in terms of like breakthrough dominant performance, goes to Diego Pacheco, undefeated super middleweight prospect out of Los Angeles, and TKO2 win was explosive, was exciting. Really, really great performance. He definitely left an impression on the crowd, and people are going to want to see him again. My thing is, he's an LA-based fighter. Let's get this guy fighting in LA more. LA's a big market, dude. I get it. Arizona's just over the border from California, and it's way cheaper. There's a lot of California people that are buying homes in Arizona, doing business in Arizona. I get it. It's a tax shelter. And for a boxing event, you can get all those LA people to drive out there and buy tickets. I get it. But let's get this guy some fights in LA more often. He has fought there. I get it. Southern California. I want to see more of it more often. Anyway, the upset of the card, Christopher Rosales, battle-tested veteran, has been in there against some top opposition. Usually comes up short. Always tough, though. And he went in there and scored a unanimous decision. I thought it was clear-cut over previously unbeaten flyweight prospect Joselito Velasquez. This was an upset. Now, was this like a major groundbreaking upset? No, but it is an upset. It was an upset. So a great win for Rosales. This is another one where they should run it right back. If Joselito Velasquez's team believes in him, run this right back and see what kind of adjustments he can make. I think that's the best thing you could do for a prospect like that that comes up a bit short in their first big step up. Get him right back in there and see what he could do, what kind of adjustments he can make, because he's got 10 rounds of video to look at now and learn from. Get him right back in there first thing next year, man. That would be my advice over there. Now, in the co-main flyweight title fight, the fifth defense of the WBC flyweight title, Julio Cesar Martinez successfully defends it with a majority decision against Samuel Carmona of Spain. This was Mexico versus Spain. So the Mexican Americans in the crowd, they were obviously going for Martinez big time in this one. Anytime a Mexican fighter is fighting a guy from Spain, oh yeah, that's political. That's real political, right? If you know the history there. So scores, one judge had a 114-114. And the other two judges, a lot of people thought this was a bit too wide. 116-112, 117-111. A lot of you guys out there, I think, agree with me. That felt a bit wide for Martinez. It just did. Because I'd say halfway through this fight, it really seemed like Carmona was doing the better work, and he was ahead. What doesn't make any sense is that Carmona, now maybe he got injured or something, but I felt like rounds 8 through 11, especially 8 and 9, he just gave him up. He just stopped punching. He started running. His volume went way down. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. If there was an injury or something, you guys in the chat could tell me. But he just gave up those rounds, dude. He came back alive in the 12th, but he gave up those rounds, and that was enough for Martinez to get the win. Now, a couple of these cards were so bad that maybe it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But if he would have at least split those 4 rounds, 8, 9, 10, 11, if he would have won 2 of those clearly, then maybe he gets like a split decision win, okay? The 117-111 card, that guy wasn't going to score it for Carmona, no way, no how. But he could have got the other 2 cards. The punching was pretty much even. I looked at the CompuBox. The big difference, though, and I guess the judges liked this. They saw this and they rewarded him. Martinez landed 54 body punches to only 26 for Carmona. So he doubled up the body punching. If you're making that sort of dedication to that sort of dedicated process to the body, the judges see that, and a couple of the judges rewarded it, right? When they saw him just going down there over and over, they gave him those rounds, maybe a couple of close swing rounds, because of the difference in body punching, because all the other punching categories pretty even. All right, let's jump to the main event, where Juan Francisco Estrada, El Gallo, scores a majority decision win over Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez in their 3rd fight. This was for one of the WBC's 4,000 belts at 115 pounds. Who cares about the damn belt? It didn't matter in this one at all. Okay, scores. One judge had this one even, 114-114. For the record, that's how I scored it. I hate draws, but that's how I scored it. The other judges had 115-113, 116-112. Okay, this felt like a 115-113 kind of fight. 116-112, in my opinion, is a bit too wide to either fighter. I think you're giving one fighter too many of the swing rounds. Close rounds. I thought the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 11th, and 12th were close. There were swing rounds. Okay, so that's shit. That's half the fight. So 6 rounds were, in my opinion, pretty easy to score. The other 6 rounds were close, competitive, and depending on what you looked at, you could make a case either way. All right. for my money, I basically split those rounds. And that's how I ended up with having this fight a draw. I didn't mind that Estrada got the decision. These fights, all three of them, were so good, particularly the second and the third, that even though I felt Chocolatito, I felt stronger that Chocolatito won the second fight than I do about this one. If you feel Chocolatito won this third fight, I ain't going to argue you at all. If you thought Estrada won it, I ain't going to argue with you at all. Okay. It really could have went either way. I'm sorry I got to sell out on this one and be really cliche, but it really was one of those fights. Okay. I think a lot of fans, though, because they feel Chocolatito got gypped in that second fight, that's why they were so upset with this decision going to Estrada. But for me, the fights were just so good. The action was so good that I almost didn't give a shit about what titles are on the line. I didn't give a shit about what the scorecards were. I just enjoyed the fights. I really, really did, because win, loss, whatever, these guys, particularly Gonzalez, their legacies are set. It really doesn't matter who wins or loses these fights. It surely doesn't. Now, the casual observer who looks at losses, because I think now there's just 7 losses between these two fighters, look, oh my God, these guys are bums, right? But we don't give a shit what those people think. I could care less if these guys lose 10 more fights. If they keep fighting on and lose 10 more times, it doesn't matter. Their legacies are set. So anyway, punching. All punching categories were close. Jabs, power punches, number of total punches thrown, number of total punches landed. The only difference, and this, again, I think the judges rewarded him for this. Estrada doubled up the body punching. He landed 62 body punches to just 31 for Gonzalez. I think the judges saw that. I think they rewarded it in some of those close rounds. And I think that's how Estrada edged this fight. It was that, combined with the fact that Chocolatito got off to a very slow start. The first half of the fight, he looked kind of flat. It's not that he looked bad. He was still highly competitive in landing punches, but he was half step behind Estrada. Estrada looked real good, real sharp in those early rounds. It's amazing that Chocolatito woke up in the second half. For a fighter in his mid-30s, advanced age in those lower weight divisions, fighting 10 pounds above his natural weight, his best weight. Maybe his best weight was 108, 105, 108, whatever. But clearly fighting above his best weight and fighting a fresher fighter who's been through less wars and had less damage done to his body. For him to turn it on in the second half and at times put it on Estrada was amazing. Just amazing to watch. Fascinating stuff. And Gonzalez, in terms of CompuBox, had a huge run from rounds 8 through 10. Dominated the punching in those 3 rounds. I want to say like in the 9th round, it was the 9th or 10th round, he threw 100 punches. Again, for a 35-year-old guy, and guys, think of it this way. A 35-year-old at 115, that's like a 45-year-old at heavyweight. Okay, just to put this into perspective. For him to throw 100 punches in the last third of a fight like that just tells you his character as a fighter. Just amazing stuff. And for Estrada, he knew this fight was, both fighters knew it was up for grabs, but he knew that he had not won rounds maybe 7 through 11. Maybe he won 11, I don't know, but it really felt like 7 through 11 were swept by Chocolatito, particularly 8 through 10. And Estrada knew he needed that 12th, and he went out, and I thought he did a little bit more in that round. Threw more, landed more, and it was able to get the decision. Anyway, should these guys do it a 4th time? Because they both mentioned that they would. Estrada mentioned it. Chocolatito mentioned it. Promoter Eddie Hearn mentioned it. Although Eddie Hearn did say that he's interested in having Estrada fight Martinez, he'd move Martinez back up to 115. Now, remember, earlier this year, Martinez moved up and fought Chocolatito and lost pretty decisively. You got to think he'd lose pretty decisively to Estrada, although style-wise, I do think Martinez, his style, would look better against Estrada than Chocolatito. I do believe that. So he'd have more success, but I think he'll still lose. But Eddie Hearn mentioned doing that. And remember, Matchroom is working with Canelo and his promotional company, and they're doing shows down in Mexico. So that fight would make perfect sense down in Mexico City, an all-Mexican showdown. That'd do numbers down there. It'd do very, very well down there. So Eddie Hearn has mentioned that. Here's the wrinkle, all right? If they do this a fourth time, I'm there. I know you guys will be too. They could fight 4 times. They could fight 8 times. We'll all be there. I didn't like Chocolatito's response to the question because do you know what he said? My Spanish isn't very great, but basically what he said was, yeah, if they're paying me right, if they're paying good, I'll do it. This is prize fighting, and that's why we fight. It's basically what he said. So that response, I got to think 5-6 years ago, his response would have been a little different. It sounded to me like a guy that's just thinking about retirement. He was also asked, are you going to fight again? He said, I'll talk it over with my family. That means he's half retired, right? So I just don't know how much longer he's going to be around, because it sounds to me like he basically admitted, I'm fighting for the money now. It's not legacy. It's not fire. It's not passion. It's not the rivalry. He didn't mention any of that stuff. It's, oh yeah, if the money is right, we'll do it. 100% about the money at this point, which to me means he's basically retired. So that response, now, am I reading too much into it? Am I reading too much into that? You guys tell me, but that's what I took from it. Okay. Before we get to the preview, let me jump to, I saw super chats. Yes, from Anthony Santiago. Thank you so much, Ant. He says, I had Chocolatito winning 7-5. 8-4 for Estrada is criminal, but I could see 7-5 Estrada. Chalk has gotten the short end of the stick in all 3 of his close fights. That's true, dude. And that makes him a sympathetic figure with boxing fans. Unfortunately, for the lesser educated boxing fans, the younger guys who maybe haven't seen all those fights and they're just going to learn about Chocolatito on BoxRec, they're going to look and say, oh man, this guy lost these 3 close fights when he stepped up. That's how they're going to see it. That sucks, because you can't put all that stuff in fine print on a guy's record on BoxRec. You either had to have been there or seen the fights, in detail and understand the nuance to it all. But yeah, I'm with you, dude. That's why I think a lot of people really had an issue with this decision. I agree 8-4 is too wide. By the way, 8-4 Chocolatito, I think, would be too wide. But 7-5 either way I can deal with. And I have no problem with Estrada getting the decision, mostly because of the 2 things I mentioned, though. He pretty much swept most of the first half of the fight. It's hard when you lose like the first half of a fight to come back and win it. And then also he doubled up the body punching. Body punches matter in the pro game. You got to reward a fighter for doing that. But it just made what Chocolatito did late that much more special. You're getting hit to the body like that, having a slow start, and you come back and win the second half of the fight. It's pretty amazing. But had Chocolatito got the decision last year in Dallas, I don't think fans would be as mad. So Gail Falcatho with an interesting comment here. She adds, Saturday was the first time Roman Gonzalez had his kids ringside. I believe it was because it's his swan song. Great point, Gail. Wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised at all. And you know what? He has nothing to be ashamed of. He could walk away into the sunset right now and first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to get all of our votes, right? Miguel Alexis Arguello says, I think Chocolatito has 1 foot out the door. He fought like that Saturday. That's what I saw in the first half of the fight. Nacho says, I think he overtrained for this fight. He looks sluggish and a step slower for sure. I saw that too. Apparently he had a super duper long camp for this fight, which is the complete opposite of what an older fighter should do. You should have a short camp. So anyway, let's go to the preview, shall we? We actually got some good stuff to talk about this weekend. Well, one card in particular. We got a lot of boxing this weekend. All right, Saturday, December 10th. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Conlon Boxing is putting on a card in Belfast, Northern Ireland. ESPN Plus picked this up. Some fun domestic level stuff there, European level stuff. Liam Taylor versus Tyrone McKenna, 10 rounds, 147 pounds. And then Michael Conlon taking on Karim Guerfi of France, 10 rounds, 126 pounds. And then Matchroom has a card in Leeds, England. This will be broadcast on the Zone. In the main event, Josh Warrington defending his IBF featherweight title for the first time against Mexican mandatory opponent Luis Alberto Lopez. Once again, it's a mandatory fight. Lopez won an IBF eliminator. I want to say it was last year. It might have been early this year or last year. I can't remember exactly, but he earned his right to be in this fight. And then 2 big cards in the United States. Let's go to New York, where Top Rank has their annual Heisman ceremony weekend fight card. These are usually a lot of fun, and they stack this one. None of these fights are super duper competitive, although the main event's very interesting, but it's showcasing a lot of their young talent. Top Rank has done a very good job keeping their prospects and their younger guys busy this year, more so than any other promoter, especially in America. Both Golden Boy Promotions and Premier Boxing Champions have absolutely shit the bed with not putting their young fighters in the ring this year. Just had awful years in that regard. Top Rank's done a pretty good job. So in the main event, Teofimo Lopez going up against Sandor Martin, 12 rounds, 140 pounds. This fight's interesting because Martin had that win over Mikey Garcia, right? And it was pretty decisive. It's not like it was close or anything like that. He basically beat Garcia up and just dominated that fight. So now Lopez, this is his second fight at 140, second fight since the loss to Camboso late last year. Let's see what he could do in this fight. On paper, this is supposed to be a really good step up for Lopez, an interesting fight. I got to say, just in terms of styles, I think Lopez is going to definitively win this fight. That's just my gut feel on it. His explosive, Teofimo Lopez is everything Mikey Garcia is not, especially at the stage of Mikey's career where he was when he fought Martin. I just think Teofimo Lopez is going to dominate this fight. That's what I see. Some close rounds early on, and then the explosive athleticism, the youth and energy of Lopez takes over. Co-main heavyweights. Undefeated American heavyweight prospect Jared Anderson fights veteran Jerry Forrest in a 10-rounder. This is interesting too. This is interesting. Forrest has been in there with some top guys and will give Anderson a good push. This should be an interesting heavyweight matchup. I'll be watching that one. I mean, that's going to be fun to see. Also on this card, undefeated Puerto Rican junior middleweight prospect Xander Zayas, who, we'd like to see step up a little bit. He's in another showcase fight, but at least he's staying busy. He's super young. So no harm, no foul there, as long as he steps up next year. And then undefeated lightweight Keyshawn Davis on that card as well. And several other, I think several of the other Olympians and young prospects that Top Rank has recently signed. Again, keeping all those guys busy, giving them a showcase in New York. Again, this is showcase fights for these prospects. But I love that they're keeping them busy. It's on a big platform, big stage, right? So good stuff from Top Rank here. This is the appropriate card for what this event, what this is. I like the matchups overall. And then Omaha, Nebraska. It's the return of Terence Bud Crawford fighting on pay-per-view on a platform that none of us have ever heard of. We have no idea how or where this came from. But if you believe reports, they're putting up $10 million of guaranteed money for Terence Crawford to fight David Avanesian, who is a quality welterweight. He's been in there with some top guys, has good experience against top-level opposition, born in Russia, now lives and trains and fights out of the UK, but he is clearly not a pay-per-view worthy opponent, right? Have to be consistent about this. There's been a lot of awful pay-per-views this year. Crawford hasn't fought in a year. His last fight was last November against Sean Porter. That was also on pay-per-view. To be out of the ring for an entire year and do nothing but talk about quote unquote negotiations, which I'm really starting to think really never really took place that deeply anyway, between him and Errol Spence. And then you go straight to pay-per-view on a platform none of us have ever heard of. Yeah, this is a tough sell. So, I don't even know how much this costs. Let me look it up real quick because I want to say 60, but I honestly don't know. Let's see. David Avanesian, Terence Crawford, pay-per-view cost. I'm Googling it right now. Okay, so it's only $40, right? Am I reading this correctly? It is on BLK Prime Stream, and it's priced at $40. Now, I like the price. I do like the price, but I'm going to pull out my trusty calculator here. We're going to take 10 million and we're going to divide it by 40. That's not exactly the way this thing is structured. There's a lot more to it than that, but we're just going to do basic math here. Okay. So that means they got to sell 250,000 pay-per-views to get 10 million. Now, I should mention that there's a lot more that goes into it that they have to pay for. Obviously, it's not just the 10 million for Crawford. There's a lot of different fees and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and bump this up to 350,000. Okay. Because let me double check my math here. I just want to make sure I'm not completely bullshitting you guys. Yeah. All right. So I would say let's just say 350,000 pay-per-view buys. Do you guys think this will do that many buys? I sure as hell don't. Terence Crawford has never been a huge pay-per-view fighter. He has gotten a lot of free press this year for doing nothing. From guys like Mike Coppinger and those kind of guys have given him a lot of free press. But how much of that is going to translate to a pay-per-view against a fighter not named Errol Spence? I don't know. I just don't know. Do I think this is going to do 300,000+ pay-per-view buy? No, I don't. Will the numbers be reported? Are we going to get reports of how many people really bought this thing and stuff? Probably not, right? It'll be interesting to see how this gets reported. The usual suspects that say nothing about Gervonta Tank Davis's recent pay-per-views tanking and Showtime losing money on some of those fights and stuff. Those guys are going to be very, very vocal about either what gets reported for this fight, the pay-per-view numbers, or the lack of reporting. They're going to be very, very vocal about that. It's funny how these things work, but you guys know how that goes. All right, so obviously I like Terence Crawford to win that fight. I think Avanesian will have some moments, particularly early on, because Crawford's been so inactive. He'll have some ring rust, but he's going to find his groove in the middle rounds, and I see him getting a mid to late round stoppage in this fight. Okay, that is it for preview. Now, let's make sure I did not miss any comments. A couple of you guys here. Twal says, this will not do 50,000. Rusty Taylor says, not 100,000. Gail says, if it hits 50K on a night when you see Teofimo Lopez for free, I'll be impressed. That's a great point. Hamed says, approximately 75,000 at best. Yeah, these guys putting up this money, they are going to lose their ass. We'll do the math later on, guys. If the numbers are reported, I'll break it all down here. You guys know I will. Anthony Santiago with another super chat. Thank you so much. She says, these last two reminded me of Triple G Canelo, first two. Chocolatito should retire before he loses to someone that is not beneath him. Usyk, not fazed at all by Fury, LOL. Yeah, look, I tend to agree with you, man. What's so amazing is Chocolatito the last couple of years, he's had some really good wins over young guys in their prime, right? Beating Martinez, beating Yafai, those are good fighters. They're not great, but they're good, and they're in their prime. And he beat them decisively. And then the way he was able to turn it up in the second half of this fight was really impressive. But I'm with you, dude. I almost kind of look at this, and I'm reminded of like when Vladimir Klitschko fought Anthony Joshua. You mentioned Golovkin and Canelo. You get to a point where it's like, can they do any better? this was probably their last push. Wasn't quite enough. Why are you going to carry on? So I'm with you. I think, maybe he could do a homecoming fight in his homeland. Maybe he could do one more like farewell fight. Maybe he could sit out next spring while Estrada fights Martinez or something, and then him and Estrada fight for a fourth time next fall. Then he calls it a day after one more big payday. I don't know, maybe something like that, but one more fight at best, and then I'm with you. He needs to hang him up. Still operating at such a high level, though. And again, you brought up Triple G. To do what he's doing at 40 is every bit as equally impressive as what Chocolatito is doing at 35 at his weight class. It's just impressive. These guys are great, great fighters. Papa Chubby with a super chat. Thank you so much. He says, we got a great look at Reynoso on Saturday. Great cornering with Velasquez. Kept him focused and calm through a closed eye. That's a great, great point. I totally overlooked. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. You're totally right about that. It's interesting because you see great cornering every weekend, and then you see shitty cornering every weekend. You can really, really tell who's out of their depths and who isn't in the corner sometimes. All right. Am I caught up? I'm actually not. Sam with the super chat. Thank you so much, Sam. He says, Terence Crawford by KO, best bet in sports, 9 in a row. Good point. Good point. Yeah. I wonder what the over-under would be for that fight, Sam. If you know, please post it in the chat. I don't know if they've posted those odds yet or anything, but yeah, I wonder what the over-under is, because that might be one where you bet the under, depending on where they place it. But I'm with you. Crawford's going to stop having easy, and I think we all know that. And, whoa, how do I pronounce this? Injectillo 3 with the super chat. Thank you so much. He says, can we just bring back HBO? I feel like boxing has lost its glamour with all these new platforms. Yeah, I'm with you, man. HBO boxing, say what you will about it. It did have that glamour kind of feel to it, right? Like a high-end, prestigious, glamour is a great word. It just seemed to have that about it, like the biggest show in town. And Showtime was, even when Showtime had better programming, better boxing, which they did several years, particularly toward the end of HBO's run, the last few years there. HBO might have the biggest events still, though, right? Because they were the glamour show. And their production was always just a little bit better. It's just a little shinier, a little more sparkly. And yeah, we're kind of missing that, And with these streaming platforms, because they show an entire card and they pick up a lot of overseas feeds, you do see a lot of awkward moments and stuff where things just aren't running well. Like I mentioned earlier on in this show, I talked about after Dubois was dropped 3 times in that fight that he had the co-main of Fury Chisora, and ESPN completely blundered the minute break in between the first and second round, where that was high drama, and we needed to see his face and see what was going on in that corner, really both corners. And it didn't show us that. Just stuff like that, man. HBO would have never dropped the ball on that. Never would have dropped the ball on that. All right. Sam with another super chat. He says, don't take total, sucker bet. Just take TC by KO. All right. I hear you. TC by KO. Safe bet. Safe bet indeed this weekend. Okay. Let's get a couple calls, shall we? And we'll take a couple calls. And I've been rapping for an hour here, so I'll take a couple calls, and then we're gonna bounce, guys, because I gotta get back to the fam. So let's see. Let's go to Nacho, calling from California. What's up, brother?
Hey, Mike. What's up? Apparently you are burning the candle at both ends, because it sounds like you're just logging through the show as much as you can.
Sorry, man. I'm trying to have a high energy, but you can see the bag under my eyes. I'm tired, man. I'm tired.
Yeah. You're fighting right now through it like Chocolatito was in rounds 1 through 6.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, baby.
Hopefully you get that second win.
Yes.
So, all right, Mike, I'm just going to talk about a few of them, especially that one at the beginning. Everything you said a few minutes ago about that fight is kind of the way I saw it. I thought Estrada won pretty much the first half of that fight. And then in the second half, Chocolatito woke up. He came on like, a bat out of hell. Mm-hmm. He went out there and he he won, like you said, round 7 through 11. And at that point, it was anybody's fight. And I just felt like whoever won number 12 would get the fight. And I think Estrada conserved enough energy that he was able to get that finishing kick in the 12th.
Agreed.
And he was able to just outbox Chocolatito, who I think had emptied his gas tank by that point. And I think he was just spent. He had given everything he had, and I just think he had nothing left. So I think Estrada, got him in the end, and I think he won. I don't agree with these people saying it was 8-4 for him. Like you said, I think you could have scored it 7-5. That's what I scored it. I wouldn't have been mad at a draw either way, but that's how close the fight was. When they interviewed him after the fight, Mike, you're right. He did say that he would agree to do a fourth one if the money was right. But then they asked Estrada the same thing, and Estrada said that he'd be willing to give him a fourth fight if Gonzalez wanted the fourth fight. So he's not necessarily saying no to a fourth fight. Ideally, like you said, Mike, I don't think Chocolatito needs another fight at this point. I think if he decides to walk away, he's an automatic lock for Hall of Fame in 5 years or 3 years. And I don't really think he has anything left to prove. The guy's won belts at 105, 108, 112, and 115. So his legacy is set. Losing tough, close fights to a future Hall of Famer in Estrada is not going to hurt his stock at the end of the day. So, we'll see what happens. And then with the Fury Chisora fight, it's like everybody's been saying, that was a glorified sparring session. Chisora got paid, Fury got paid. It's funny because Mike, today there was an article where Chisora said that he didn't disagree with the referee stopping the fight when he did. Although you could have legitimately stopped that fight at least 2 or 3 rounds earlier.
No doubt.
Because that's how lopsided it was. And he is hell-bent on continuing his career. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, what do you want to do? Do you want to end up like the guy that Morrell just beat recently? Is that what Chisora is trying to end up like? Like he's trying to end up in the hospital? Because that's what's going to end up happening. I hope somebody convinces the dude it's time to him up. Like, the world-class level. And fighting as a gatekeeper isn't going to get him paid, He's just going to get beat up for nothing. So I really hope that somebody talks to this guy and convinces him he's got to walk away at this point. With the Dubois-Lerna fight, same thing, Mike. Lerna's going to be kicking himself because he had a chance to pull off a major upset with that first round where he knocked him down with that clubbing shot to the top of the head. And then Dubois was smart enough to realize, I don't have my legs back under me yet. Let me go ahead and take these knees to try to recover as much as I can. And then Lerna just made the classic mistake of thinking that he was going to be able to walk Dubois down and Dubois wasn't going to be able to hurt him. And Dubois just went in there and started pumping his jab and then landing that 1-2. And once he landed that right hand that dropped Lerna, like you said, Mike, the fight was over. Yep. Lerna was not going to be able to come back. And, it was pretty much a wrap at that point. I agree, Mike. Even though he won and he came back from getting knocked down, this is a huge dent in his stock right now. Because at this point, who could you legitimately favor Dubois over that's a top 15 or top 20 heavyweight right now? I don't really think there's a whole lot of guys that you would pick Dubois over at this point. Because him being dropped the way he was dropped was shocking. And it was by a guy who basically wasn't a real heavyweight. So I'd hate to imagine what a real heavyweight would do if they hit him the way Lerna did, you know? It's going to be interesting to see how they go proceeding his career as far as like who they pick next. But I wouldn't get him in there with a top 10 or even a top 15 guy next. I think you got to try to find that happy medium and you know, kind of get his confidence back and kind of make sure that he learns to kind of protect himself and not expose himself to like some crazy shot he doesn't see. I mean, he has Shane McGuigan in his corner, so hopefully that'll be, you know, something that will help him moving forward. And then with the fights this weekend, Mike, I think the most interesting one is the Tio Sandor fight. I think if Sandor is on his game and Tio is kind of taking him lightly, it's going to be a really interesting fight. And to a certain extent, I think Tio's kind of taking him a little bit lightly because he's acting like taking on Martin's not going to be a big deal as a last-minute replacement. And I think that's the wrong attitude fighting a guy like that who's a southpaw and he's a veteran and he's already upset somebody in Mikey Garcia. So I genuinely hope that Tio comes to fight and he's not overlooking this guy one bit. Jared Anderson, I think he takes on Forrest, and I hope he puts on a good performance and he wins. I'd be curious, though, because Anderson feels like if he beats Forrest, that Dillian White fight would be something that he would be interested in Mike next. Do you think that's a legit possibility?
We got to see how he looks. If he walks through Forrest and beats him up, then yeah, it's possible. But yeah, I'd like to see it, but I don't know, dude. I'm interested in this fight though, because Forrest is experienced. It's going to be Anderson's best opponent to date, and I just want to see how he looks in there against a guy like that. I still want to see him take a big shot too. We haven't seen him take a big shot.
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing we haven't seen. And then with Crawford Avanesian, Mike, I don't think that fight sells even six figures. I kind of agree with Hamed. I think 75 to 80 is probably about as high as it's going to go, especially with other cards being on this Saturday. So I seriously doubt he's going to get six figures even for that fight. I think he wins that fight. I think, like you said, he's rusty the first 3 or 4 rounds, kind of just shakes off the rust, lets Avanesian kind of, gas himself a little bit. And then as the fight goes on, I think he starts to break him down. And I could see Crawford probably stopping him in like the 9th, maybe 10th round for sure. But yeah, I mean, this weekend has a bunch of stay busy fights and, certain fights that were just kind of like, meh. The one fight that I'm definitely curious to see is the Warrington Venado Lopez fight, because I think Warrington is ripe for the upset, Mike. I think Venado Lopez is the wrong guy. He picked the wrong opponent
style.
To try to defend that belt. Yeah. Yeah, and I think Venado's going to come in there, and I think he's going to end up pulling off the win against Warrington. I'm just not convinced Warrington has enough to legitimately stay as a world-class featherweight. I think he's a guy who can, if you matched him right, he could go on a run and make some defenses, but to me, he's not like the best of the best in the division.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Venado's going to prove that, and I think he's going to probably stop him in like 8 or 9. So, all right, Mike, I'm sure there's other people. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, Nacho. Have a good one, man.
All right. Cool.
All right, let's jump on to our next call. We got 201. You're on the show. What's up?
Hello?
Yes. What's up?
Oh, hey, Mike. What's up, my brother?
How you doing,
Long
man?
time fan, man. I'm glad I finally got on. I found the number and I got a chance to call and say what's up to you.
Oh, cool, man. So this is your first time calling in. Thanks for calling in, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely not the last either.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just want to say, look, bro, Chocolatito looked like he honestly did not want to be there. I saw this fight 3 times already, and to be honest with you, I'm still going through it because that fight cost me like 25 G's on a 20-game parlay that I had on DraftKings. Yeah, dude, I had all my NFL games winning. I had all my basketball games winning. I even had Stephen Thompson beating Kevin Holland, which was an upset. It was like plus 160. And I just told myself, all right, we're going to do the over and under, or I'm going to go with Chocolatito. No, I'm going with Chocolatito, man. My dumbass lost. But I was scared from the jump, dude, because when he, like, from the ring walk into the first round, he like, his energy was just, like, not there.
He looked flat.
And then he looked like he did not want to be there, dude. And then I'm like, all right. After the first round, I'm like, all right, he's trying to time him. He's getting back in his groove. All right, no worries. But after the third round, I said, okay, we got some fucking problems because what am I looking at right now? And then his trainer got in his face and said, dude, what are you doing? We didn't train like this. Are you okay? Why are you giving this fight away already? You gonna believe in the judge's hands after what happened? And that's when he said, okay. And that's when he looked like he wanted to be there. If he would have won the 12th round, in my opinion, that fight would have been most likely a draw. Because I watched it 3 times, and honestly, bro, like, it was just so back and forth like the previous 2 have been. But, I mean, you know, it is what it is. I mean, you know, congrats to Estrada. You know, he's a hell of a fighter. But he just looked like he wanted it more, to be honest with you. Fury and Chisora, to be honest, I thought the post-fight interview was more entertaining than the fight itself.
Yeah.
And I just thank God, though, that, you know, people could say what they want about Tyson Fury. Let me just say this right now. Boxing needs more Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
We need to see that in the ring, especially after the fight, to get people riled up for the fight. I want to see Joyce versus Tyson Fury now.
Me too.
And that wasn't even a fight that I was thinking about before.
100.
You get me?
100.
And it's like, yeah, dude, definitely, bro. And it's like, Usyk, you saw that look in his face, like, oh, man, when I get in this ring with you. And Alexander Usyk gets absolutely no respect whatsoever. And that shit has got to stop. He just beat AJ in 2 fights convincingly. I have yet to see one segment on ESPN about this guy.
Wow.
I mean, maybe they
That's
have and I didn't see it. Dude, what the fuck? And, you know, it's like people like, you know, like we're talking about Terence Crawford versus David. I can't even say his last name. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know this guy. I don't know who the hell he is. But there's a reason I don't know who the hell he is, because these guys don't get covered on the platforms that they should get covered. And it's always some bullshit with boxing, as much as I love the sport. But I mean, yeah, that's basically what I want to say. Right now, I was gonna ask you something. You know, Keith Thurman and Errol Spence are gonna fight, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not official, but they're gonna fight next spring on pay-per-view. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that happens, I don't see that being an easy fight for Spence whatsoever, even though Keith Thurman hasn't been active like ever. But I think there's going to be a tough one for Spence. He's going to have to like really pull that one out. Because what I'm saying is, I'm guessing, God willing, after this Crawford fight and the next Thurman fight, we're going to see Spence versus Crawford, if that happens. But if that happens, I'm going to tell you, bro, I got Crawford with that fight. Because other than the fact that I think Crawford is just way too faster than Spence, and I think he's more talented when it comes like the technical stuff. And then, you know, he knows how to get in and get out. Like, Spence is more of a brawler compared to Crawford. But Crawford has his own easy street right now, from what I see. And not, you know, and I'm not trying to disrespect David Adesanya, but I mean, let's be honest. If you're gonna compare him to Keith Thurman, especially at this stage where like you know, Thurman is gonna bring it in that Spence fight. We can say what we want. That's probably gonna be a really good fight.
I hope so.
I mean, after that, hopefully, yeah, man. After that, hopefully we get Crawford, Spence, and it's not another Pacquiao, Mayweather type of shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully a lot of these fighters will start getting covered a lot more on ESPN. But yeah, dude, I'll definitely call back.
Yeah, what's your name, brother? We didn't get your name.
Omar Perez. We're actually Facebook friends from like years ago. Not that I expect you to know who the fuck I am, but you know.
The name sounds really familiar. That's why. Okay, Omar Perez. All right, hey man, call back, dog. For real, call back.
I definitely will, man. Definitely will. Congrats on my baby girl. I'm expecting mine. You want to laugh? My wife is Philippine and half Puerto Rican, so I'm basically fucked. Yeah.
Shit. Hey, good food though, man. Good food, good parties. All right. That's cool.
Yeah, that's basically my only glory right now. Yeah.
Good luck with that, brother. Good luck.
I got you, man. I'll definitely call back, bro. Peace.
All right, man. Have a good one. Great call from Omar. Great call, man. Wow, half Puerto Rican, half Filipino. Wow, that's a hell of a combination. I don't know if I've ever heard of that combination before. Wow, that's crazy. All right, we're gonna take one more call, guys. One more call. We're gonna have to wrap it up quick. I think we got Johnny on the line here. All right, Johnny from France. What's up, man?
Hello, Mike.
We gotta make it quick, bro. We gotta make it quick.
Yeah, I know. I am not. No, hey, bonjour, Mike. How are you? Hope you're all right. You okay?
I'm all right. Just tired, man. Just tired. That's all.
Yeah. I understand it. It's much later here. It's almost 1 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No. It's midnight. Sorry, midnight. Just a few words, Mike, since we're early about the heavyweight division. You know, you have all the best heavyweights right now in top rank Queensbury team. You know, with Joyce, Fury, Usyk, and I told you last time. I think it's gonna be in the end. It's gonna be Usyk Joyce for the undisputed. I think Fury is not gonna win against Usyk. Usyk is gonna make him look silly, either inside the ring or outside the ring, because I got a feeling he might do something funny, like get out of into retirement again. What do you think?
You think Fury might do something where he gets like suspended or does drugs again, something like that?
Something funny. Yeah, because he wants to remain unbeaten. He like really snuck out of the rematch with Klitschko, and he might avoid another Ukrainian fighter. He might not want Usyk. You know, I feel it's like this. I think Fury is not very fond of fighting Usyk, because Usyk has all the abilities that make Fury look not that fast, not that mobile. He's got the movement, he's got the speed, so he's got all the Fury's abilities, but better.
Yeah, I agree with you. The one thing that I question is, will Fury be allowed to get dirty? Because what I honestly think Fury is going to do is he's going to lean on Usyk. He's going to hold him. He's going to hit him in the back of the head. He's going to elbow him. He's just going to get physical with him and rough him up in the early rounds and tire him out. I think that's going to be his strategy. He can't stand in the middle of the ring and box with Usyk. He can't do that.
Yeah, but that's not that easy to rough Usyk up, you know?
Well, have you seen have you ever seen Fury's fight against Steve Cunningham?
Only highlights. But I know
find that fight.
Put him down.
Find that fight on YouTube and watch it, because what happens is Cunningham has some good success early on. He drops Fury, he boxes well, and Fury makes an adjustment, and he starts getting on the inside and roughing Cunningham up and rabbit punching him, using his forearms, leaning on him, just getting physical and dirty with him, and the ref allowed it. And that's how he was able to stop Cunningham. Now, Usyk is much, much better than Cunningham, but I think Fury will try to do the same thing. And I think because he's the A side of the promotion, and the fight will either be in England or Saudi Arabia, I think Fury will get away with doing those things. So I just don't know. I have to think about it, but I don't know if Usyk can deal with that for 12 rounds.
But Usyk is not only better, but he's also more clever. One thing with Usyk is that he's very clever, and he knows how to put those things into perspective. You know how to put focus on the foreplay. He knows how to play. You know, when a blow is a little low, he makes a lot of it. So I think he'll be able to manage that. I think, because he's very clever, and he's still old. You know, he's still old as an amateur. He's been with bigger guys a lot, and I think he's seen it all, So I think you might find a way to manage that, because obviously he knows that from the beginning. He knows that it's gonna be dirty. He knows that Fury fights dirty most of the time. Not only Cunningham, but many guys. He knocked out holding while punching and things like this. So he fights a lot of. He fights dirty a lot. That's known. Even with wider fight was like this.
Yeah.
He fought a bit dirty in a wider fight.
He did.
So I think he knows that. I think he's. I think many people overlook also the power of music, because when he punches, when he lands flush, like his left is very, very dangerous. He stopped. I forgot the name.
You
of
have to respect
English
him.
guy. And also like Chisora. With the Chisora fight, Chisora was almost out on his feet, in the seventh.
Yeah.
And Chisora is very durable. A previous caller spoke about Chisora, and Chisora, the fact that Chisora needed to retire. I do kind of agree, but a few years ago already, he was already a gatekeeper, and he managed to KO Takam and got a second run. And he won $4 million Saturday night. So
yeah, $4 million.
It's not really damaged.
It's not bad.
$4 million.
Or 4 million pounds.
So
I'll take it.
Cool payday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, he was tailor-made for Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury already fought him twice, and Chisora never evolved his game, so he never changed his game a bit. Always doing the same thing. The reach disparage was too much, so it was a given. It was a given. He had not any chance, and nobody was even wide enough to guess about Chisora win. So really, it was a bit of a warm up. But the funny thing is that Matchroom, we got nobody in the heavyweight division right now. No champion, no mandatory, nothing.
Matchroom?
And Joyce is next in line. Well,
Matchroom co-promotes Usyk, so they represent. They're set up well.
Do they? They do still, because they were kind of offered a picture at the last Saturday, and Usyk seemed to say that he was not with them anymore.
Okay. Unless I missed something, I heard that I thought he was still 50%. He has like a co-promotion, but maybe you're right. I don't know. I've been out of the loop, so perhaps he's not with them anymore. Maybe he's a free agent, or he's just represented, because he has a Russian. It's not a Russian promoter. I can't remember.
No, Ukrainian. Klimas.
Oh yeah, Klimas is his manager.
And, yeah. And the same as Klitschko's brothers too. And he also got his right hand Alex Krashuk. You see him all the time. Klimas is more above. You don't see him very often. But the guy you see more often is Alex Krashuk, I think.
You're right. Right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's Alexander Krashuk. I just looked it up.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a very exciting 2023. I think it's going to be very exciting, and I long to see those fights go on. I long to see those fights really, because Fury Usyk, if it ever happens, because I still doubt it might happen, it's going to be very, very challenging. So thank you, Mike. Thank you for taking my call. I'm not keeping you any longer, because I know you're already tired. It's already late. And the nights are still short, I guess. Given you're a young father, right?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to try to get some rest tonight. All right, my friend. Thank you so much for calling in, man.
See you. Thank you so much. Call you next time. See you. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
There he goes, Johnny. Always a great call. Yeah, and he's totally right. Alexander Krasiuk with K2 Promotions. That's who's representing Usyk right now. That's interesting. That kind of thickens the plot. That does thicken the plot. So if I take this further, we click on Alexander Usyk here, and then we go to his wiki. I want to see, his promoter. Yeah, it was, guys, I'm so sorry. He was with Matchroom technically from 2018 to 2020. So his promotion right now is K2 Promotions Ukraine. K2 Promotions Ukraina. That's who represents Alexander Usyk. So that does make it interesting dealing with Tyson Fury. That would could make negotiations quite interesting. All right, guys. Good show. Lots of fun. Thank you for all the super chats, everybody. Sam got one more in there. Ant got one more in there. I appreciate it, guys. Have a great week. 50-50 on a Friday show because I might be heading to that club show here in Atlanta that night. We shall see. If I end up staying home, I'll do a show. All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll talk soon. See you at the fights. Peace.